Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Off, 5 On Racing Show. A little bit of weather coming out here, but I was on time. You know, just takes a couple of minutes to do hair and makeup. So, but anyway, it's all good. Some things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, well, real quick, the Chevy Indy Duel in Detroit had two races this past weekend with Carlos Munoz was first, Marco Andretti second, Simon Pagenaud third, Will Power fourth, and Scott Dixon fifth. In the second race, Sebastian Bourdais was first, Takuma Sato was second, Graham Rahal was third, Tristan Vautier was fourth, and Marco Andretti rounded out the top five. Qualifying for that event was called on due to weather. They had some weather issues. And those guys race in the rain anyway, so I don't know why they called off qualifying, but they did. What else? Some good news. NASCAR revealed its class of 2016 for the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction, and six-time modified champion Jerry Cook, who was involved with the Hall of Fame since it was just a patch of dirt, with his input and some of the things he provided, is finally getting his due. Jerry Cook, six-time modified champ. Back in the days when the modifieds just went all over the country, they picked races. Him and Richie Evans, legendary battles, not only on the track but off the track with dummy cars and haulers and trailers. So who thought they were going west when they went east? And the stories were endless with what went on with them. So the Jerry Cook, it was kind of funny when Richie Evans got in. I had the opportunity to talk to Jerry, and I'm talking to Jerry, and I said, there's a lot of guys from the modified days that should be in that. And he looked at me, he goes, what about me? And he didn't say it joking around to say, he was serious. He goes, what about me? Just like that. So he's finally in, joining him in 2016 with the induction, which will be in January. The ceremony will be two-time Sprint Cup Series champ Terry Labonte, Bobby Isaacs, the 1970 title holder, Curtis Turner, a force to be reckoned with back in the 60s, who had 17 wins, and Speedway Motorsports chairman of the board, Bruton Smith. So it's a nice crop of inductees going into the Hall of Fame. And if you're ever in that Charlotte area or around it, near it, driving past it, I'm telling you, the NASCAR Hall of Fame is an awesome, awesome place. I've been there many, many times, and every time I go, I see something I didn't see. So it's a nice place, and they have, when you walk in, and it's in levels, and you just keep walking up the levels, and they have the tracks and different tracks and the banking for those tracks, from flat out to all the way up to the highest banking, and cars on it. I wonder how they keep those cars. They're bolted down, I guess, from sliding off. But nice place to visit. A lot of history there, back from the old days, back from the days before NASCAR even existed. Just some good stuff. In fact, American Pickers, that show American Pickers, actually traveled the South looking for stuff to put in there, and they did a show on it. So if you ever watch American Pickers and you could find that one, that was a pretty good show, and some of the guys they went and saw. But anyway, I'm going to rant early. I'm into social media, and anybody that knows me, I'm into social media a lot. Maybe a little too much, and some people say. But what happens is, what I saw, let me rephrase that. What I saw was in the social media, and I'm not going to say which track or which person or whatever, I'm not going to leave that out. You figure it out, you fill in the blanks. I see the PR director for a certain racetrack puts in the social media, attention drivers in XYZ division. This week before your race, your vehicles, tires are going to be checked and durometered. Now, are you kidding? Are you kidding? That would be like the New York City Police Department saying, we're going to be at the Drogs Neck Bridge checking inspection stickers. Are you going to go over that bridge if you're not legal? Just like you're not going to go over the scales at your local racetrack with altered or tires that have softener in them or whatever. Are they kidding? They got to be kidding me. So I got to ask this question. as that head official made this announcement, had the PR director put it in social media, who is that head official trying to protect? Because he got buddies in there that he knows are juicing them up. You know, I'd like to compare the early season finishes with the finishes that are going to be this Saturday night at that place. I don't know. I don't know. Why would a head official post what he's going to, or have posted in social media what they're going to tech on these race vehicles? You know, and I know back in the day, when I was a guy, and here we go with another one, back in my day story, but this story has a little relevance to it. My first full season as a chief steward at my local racetrack, a lot of people, A, didn't think I was qualified for it, myself included, and B, didn't think I had the knowledge to effectively run a racetrack and run people and officials. Little did they know I ran a staff of 60 people in my job, so I knew how to work with people. And I knew rules. I knew rules. So I'd have a meeting in the morning with my officials after everybody would sign in, and I'd say, all right, look, guys, today, let's check, I don't know, let's check clutches tonight in the late models. All right, yeah, that sounds good. All right, so, you and you, we're going to start checking them. Once the gates open, they get unloaded, and we'll go from there. Well, I noticed, as I'm making my rounds, that they weren't checking the late models in order. You would think they would start in the front of the pit area and work their way towards the back. Oh no, they do this car, and then they skip these 3 and do that one, and skip these 2 and do these 3 in a row. And back then there were 25 late models, so it was an all-day project, an all-afternoon project. And I'm wondering why they're skipping. So one of my people who I was brought in said to me, maybe they're not checking those guys because they're not legal. They're going to give them a chance to change it. So here we go, and we're going to do this. So now a week later, we're going to do the modifieds, and the same scenario happens. So what I do is I skip a week of checking anything. And then guys, we're not checking. No, we're going to skip a week. We're going to do some surprise things. So the following week, after we skipped a week, I told each official something else in private. Look, it's just between you and me. Tonight we're going to check carburetors on the modifieds. Then I go to the next guy. Between you and me, we're going to check transmissions and the chargers. And between you and me, we're going to check rears. And all of a sudden, whatever I said for the late models that night, I said clutches, I guess it was. I think it was clutches. All of a sudden, I see like 10 late models on jack stands changing clutches before practice. So what does that tell me? That official was helping his people, his friends. But I don't know. It's just one of those things that I don't know. So it's just weird. And why an official would announce what they're going to check prior to a race. Now, in my opinion, they should be checking that stuff every week anyway. And the reason they don't is I don't know, but I'm just saying it's just one of those things that has to be, it makes me ask questions. It makes me ask questions. And maybe I'm not in a position to be asking these questions, but I'm going to ask those questions as a race fan and as a reporter. I guess that's what I do. So I don't know. So anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Whelen Modified Tour event that was held at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl when we come back.
It's Chris West Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Mark. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the. But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, we're back. We are back. Anyway, let's see. The K&N Pro Series East was at Bowman Gray Stadium, and Scott Heckert was the winner with Dalton Sargent second. J.J. Haley was third. Jay Beasley was fourth, and Gray Golding was fifth. And I'll tell you what, I would love to see the K&N Pro Series cars race on these smaller tracks. And you know what, I think it's an awesome, awesome event to watch. And it's true racing, man. It's bumping and banging, beating and grinding, and it's, you know, you're separating the men from the boys here. But anyway, NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was at the new London Waterford Speed Bowl this weekend after a month off. Ryan Preece was the winner, followed by Doug Colby. Ted Christopher was third, Max Zeckham fourth, and Woody Pitkat fifth. I didn't watch the race. I didn't go to the race, but I got a lot of feedback from a lot of people that say that the race was horrible. And one of the things that they did, when I say they, NASCAR elected to start all 33 cars that showed up in the pit area for Saturday's event instead of the 28-car field, which was on the entry blank. Now, for years, when a competitor would question something about an event or an event schedule or what's going on, they were always told, refer to your entry blank. Everything's on the entry blank. And you know, I understand, believe me when I tell you, why NASCAR elected to start all 33 cars. Because there's been a month off, and they don't want to send 5 guys home or 5 drivers home, and they're trying to get them racing. They're trying to do the right thing. So my question is this, then why have XYZ number of cars on an entry blank? Back in the olden days, and I say, back in the 40s and the 50s when they showed up for an event, what they did was whoever showed up raced. And they made it happen. Now, I'm not saying you have 50 cars on a 3/8 mile racetrack or 40 cars or 28 cars on a quarter-mile racetrack, but they have to decide when they're going to follow rules. If the entry blank says 28, it should be 28. Yeah, you know, if I was racing, I'd probably be one of the 5 guys going home. And you know, you got to do your homework. And because there were some people in that event, from what I was told from some of the guys who raced the event, there were some people in that event that maybe should have been. There were a lot of wrecks and a lot of crashes, and things were just happening on that racetrack. That some good equipment got tore up. On a 3/8 mile racetrack, there's a big difference between 33 cars and 28 cars. And what you do is you start the 28 that you said you're going to have, and you know what? I'm sorry, folks, but it ain't your day. And that's what's happening, not only in the touring series, it's happening all across the country at the weekly short tracks, because the car counts are down at a lot of the places. And what they're doing is they're foregoing qualifying events, which I disagree with, and they're starting everybody that shows up. Now, what they should do, in my opinion, and this is all weekly tracks that just say, all right, listen, we're going to start 20. Oh, we only have 15. Why? Everybody's in. No need for qualifying. They should still have qualifying, in my opinion, because some of these drivers need the seat time. Some of these drivers need to get the laps in. They need to drive. They need to learn how to pass. It's, when there's, if you have 14 cars show up for a division and you're going to start 20, everybody's in. 2 heats of 7. Boom, boom, boom. Make the heat, count for something. Line them up in that order, or just line them up from a draw and then handicap the feature. Do something. Get these guys and gals on the racetrack doing laps. Don't just start people. Just don't start people. There's people in the Whelen Modified Tour that shouldn't even be on the tour, and because they're so uncompetitive, being lap by lap 7 and 8, and I'm not going to say who they are because they try hard, and who knows, I might have been one of those people. But you have to give seat time in the weekly series. You have to give these drivers seat time. They need to practice. And I don't mean practice where they go out in practice sessions and they practice for an hour and a half. And I go to a dirt track, they practice 3 laps. 3 laps. That's it. That's practice. Boom. They call it hot laps. You go out, boom, you pack it down. And as Earl Pearson, a dirt elite model driver, said to me a couple years back, when I went to watch him in Volusia County, he said to me, if I can't figure out my car in 3 laps, I don't belong in this business. And what happens sometimes with these hour-and-a-half practices and the touring series have, and the multiple rounds that the weekly series have, some of these guys, they dial themselves right out. Right out. The car's good, but they're going to make it better. So they make twist here, turn there, a little air pressure, a little add more, take some out. They go out, we'll just miss it, and they dial themselves right out. The other thing, and I'm not no physicist type of guy, I'm no weatherman, meteorologist, but if you're practicing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a race that's at 7, it's a whole different racetrack. The atmospheric conditions have changed. The temperature of the track has changed. Where's the sun now in relation to where it was when you're practicing? And they're setting up their cars for their feature event based on a practice that was 5 hours ago. I don't get it. So anyway, if you set up your car in practice at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock for a heat race is at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, boom. Now you've raced the heat race. You've done 10, 12, 15, whatever the heat race is, and now your feature is only a couple hours away. So you don't have the 5-hour span. That was one of the things that drove me nuts when I was driving figure 8 cars. We were the first practice and the last practice. So we went out at 2 o'clock, and we went out again at 4 o'clock. And then we didn't qualify until like 7, 3 hours later. And then we ran our feature on nights that we didn't get curfewed out at 10:30. It's a whole different racetrack. The temperature dropped 20 degrees or so. But I don't know. So what are they talking about? So I guess they're talking about one of the people in the tour. But, and the other thing that I see a lot of the weekly tracks is you got starting parks. And I'm not talking about my local place. I'm talking about a lot of tracks that just, they want to fill the field and to make it look good. The track tells these guys with backup cars, bring them, take the green, you get last place money. So what did it cost them? They're already there. They don't have to buy tires, or at least at most racetracks, you don't have to buy tires. And you go out and you finish last, and you take your 150, 200, 300, whatever it is, and so I don't know. And for those who are looking, Long Island Need for Speed is here doing video stuff and clips and stuff like that, and he just made a change to his camera so that it I guess records not the initial feed, but when he plugs it in, it's in HD. So Kevin is here in the control room working on some videos. Kevin and I have gone to quite a few events. New Egypt was one we went to a couple of weeks ago. New Egypt Speedway. I hadn't been there in about 10 or 12 years, and I had a good time. And it's funny how, you know, I go there and I'm treated very well. And we're given carte blanche. I mean, wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go, golf cart drive me around, food is good, and what they did for us is the announcer actually had me on his golf cart driving around telling people they're going to be on TV, and you know, kind of interviewing me. Had a great time in New Egypt. The staff and management at New Egypt Speedway was awesome, and as was at the Orange County Fair Speedway up in Middletown, New York. And with plans to head back to both of those facilities. In fact, both facilities have told me to come every week if I would like to. So, but it's just one of those things that I'm not into. Not that I wasn't into dirt racing. Don't get me wrong. I followed dirt racing in the '70s, but to go and see a different form of racing, a different brand of racing, a different style, and see that, see how different other places are. And it was one of the conversations I've had with a few people. You know, whether you live in Texas, Michigan, Oregon, New York, Connecticut, wherever, you know, your local racetrack is the best by none. And I believed that when I was, you know, a young guy going to ISA Speedway, and then later on, you know, the other racetracks on Long Island. And I believed that my racetrack was the best, bar none. And then I went to Stafford. And then I went to Thompson. And then I went to Holland. I went to Beech Ridge, went to Lee, and I went to all these other places. And I realized there's other racing just as good as, if not better, at some of these other places. Mountain Speedway up in Pennsylvania, Mahoning Valley. I was a local guy. I didn't go traveling to all these places, and I definitely didn't go to non-NASCAR places. But you see the difference. And when I sat at the back gate of not only Orange County Fair Speedway and New Egypt and watched the people coming in, it was so different than what I'm accustomed to. When I listened to what was going on in the infield where they pit at these two places, I mean, well, at Orange County and then at New Egypt outside, the racetrack outside of Turn 4, and the camaraderie and how everybody's just helping each other, from the guy who picks up the garbage to the race director. You know, the camaraderie was just, you know, and I was talking to some guys, you know, why they travel so far to go race there? They said, because of the way we're treated. And one of the conversations I had with one of the officials at New Egypt kind of went like this. He said, listen, I'm a businessman. I come here, I'm the race director. I come here because, A, I love racing, and I love the people involved with racing. And he said, he goes, these race car drivers, and he did that, these race car drivers are my internal customers. Without customers, you're out of business. Whether you're a mechanic, whether you have a gas station, whether you have a candy store, a soda fountain, a bar, or a convenience store. Without customers, you're out of business. And without your internal customers, as he put it, the external customers don't have a need to go to your facility. So he makes it so these guys and gals want to come back each week, because those guys and gals equate to, as Mark Arute said to me one time, fannies in the seats. And the tracks that have poor car counts and poor attendance need to take a look at that. So you get caught up in a paradigm. See, well, we do that because we always did it that way. Well, that way's not working anymore. It's not working. And what you need to do is you need to sit back and you need to, I called them Swiss cheese meetings back in the day when I was involved with UPS. We called them Swiss cheese meetings. We sit down and we poked holes at what we were doing. And that was it was where you could be negative. It was okay to be negative because you have to see what's negative so you could fix it. If you don't see the negative and you don't fix it, it's just going to be a downward spiral. So we call them Swiss cheese men. We're going to poke holes. Let's sit down and poke holes at our racetrack, whether it's on Long Island, whether it's in Michigan, Texas, California, Chicago, wherever it might be. Let's poke holes in it. Let's make it better. Because if you don't make it better, you become complacent, and all of a sudden, well, this guy stopped coming, and this guy stopped coming, and this guy stopped coming, and where are they going? Well, let's find out. And because nobody wants to be honest with themselves, it's the economy. It's not the doggone economy when you have guys driving past your local racetrack that go over 2, sometimes 3 bridges, and the tolls that they have to pay to get there, plus the fuel. It's not the economy. You're not going to go where you're not treated well. You're going to go where you're treated good, And it's just, I don't know. But it's video like, you guys crack me up. You're going to go where you feel welcomed. And that's it in a nutshell. And that's what's going on at some of these racetracks that have decent car counts, as opposed to the racetracks, the car counts are poor. And the Whelen Modified Tour, 33 cars going to New London Waterford Speed Bowl. That's a lot more than were at the last race. See, last year the tour had trouble filling the fields, and from the looks of it this year, it's a little different. There's more cars coming, and blingage, if I say that right. I remember being told that when I was a competitor. And I went in to complain. I went into Big Bob O'Rourke's over. And Big Bob O'Rourke would listen. Let him rest in peace. But he would listen to you. But then there were others who would say, if you don't like it, why are you here? Or the famous words of my predecessor, why don't you just go bowling on Saturday night? And I've heard things like that. And, that's not what you say to a competitor. Mighty Mike Mortimer, late model driver here on Long Island, he had enough of the nonsense at his local track. Went to Seekonk Speedway a couple of weeks in a row. And the third week, he couldn't make it for whatever reason. For whatever reason. He couldn't make it. Monday morning, he got a phone call. Mike, everything all right? I don't know. I always felt if you don't like what's going on at where you race, you need to try to make it better. Because, and I've said this, my mother said this to me when I was a kid. She goes, Joe, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So you try to be part of the solution. All right, so I don't know. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about some things that went on in Dover this past weekend when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Enravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Enravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from InRadio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on.
Or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, we're back. We are back. All right. Some interesting information going in the chat room. And it's funny when one of the guys was saying that you got treated like you were family. Everybody was treated like they were family, and myself included. It was kind of funny. And I went into the office, and it was just, I was walking around the place like I've been there 1,000 times, and I've been there like 3 times in my lifetime. The last time being about 12, 14 years ago, as guests of Bill Bryce III and his wife, the late Janice Bryce. And then before that, back in the 70s, when it was paved, when it was a paved racetrack. But one of the things that I really liked is, and I say this in any business, you got to get the kids involved, because then the kids are going to pester mommy and daddy to go, and they're going to go and they become fans. And they had this bus that the kids got on, and they got on the bus and they drove around the racetrack and they went into the pit area so the kids could see up close and personal what was going on in the pit area with the cars and working on the cars. And I know, as a little kid, I can remember going to Islip Speedway as a little kid back in the 70s, and here's what the term fence grabber. I would stand on the fence like this, what could I see? And I was a short little guy, so I really couldn't see up, but I'd be holding the fence like this, watching, looking, what can I see, And after the features, I'd run down there 100 miles an hour, and because, you try to see where's there going to be a fight, and you're there, you're watching, But, I don't know. But, it's, I don't know. And you guys are talking about Dover, and the last restart, they're saying, JJ jumped the start, and even Angie Petrie said so. Well, if Angie Petrie said so, then it must be true. I don't think he did. I think the guy in front of him spun his tires and didn't go, well, I know the guy he was in front of. It just, I don't know. I don't think he jumped the restart, because they would have picked up on that from the. They watch for that stuff, and I've been in the tower, and when somebody you beat them to the line by 1/10 of a second. The first thing they say is, so-and-so, give it back. And that means you got to back off and let them pass you, and then you can race them again. But video Mike, no, I don't eat roast beef, but it was offered. It was offered. I don't eat roast beef. It's not something I eat. But whatever I want, it was good. There was a refrigerator that help yourself. If it's in there, you're welcome to it. And made me feel good. It really did. And the good part about New Egypt, and I went there with the intent to interview Chuck Stoyer, Long Island modified champion down on Long Island, and Jimmy Blewett, who was won in everything he's raced, and it was a good opportunity. And we spent some time with Chuck Stoyer and his crew and his car owner, Grant Williams, owner of Northeastern Office Equipment, and in their trailer, and we had a great time. And Chucky's going to be a guest on our show in the next week or two, but he doesn't race the way he used to. He doesn't race every week because he's racing with his son in slingshots, and he said when his son's ready to move to the next level, he may retire from racing as a driver and become a car owner for his son. And sitting there listening to that, when we have interviews, we're not gonna show them this week, but they're still in post-production. But when we have him down in live, we're gonna show some of that and some of the racing that went on there. But it was all good. But yeah, it was all good. Anyway, talking about the old days, we got some footage with Johnny Bush. NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour driver who is driving so far this season for Wade Cole in the second Wade Cole car, and we're not going to get into that. Don't even ask. All right, you guys in that chat, don't even ask. Johnny Bush is driving the car. In fact, Johnny Bush drove the 33 car, the primary car, and Wade Cole drove the 38 car, and we all know what that car was intended before. But anyway, we got some footage from Johnny Bush at the Marty Himes Museum of Nostalgia. Here we go. I'm here with Johnny Bush, NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour driver who's in the process of building a new car. Johnny, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
How's that new car coming along?
Oh, it's coming along great. It's great. We're on all four wheels. We're wiring it right now, and I just have to go out to Hutter's, pick up the motor.
Johnny, you've been racing for a little bit, a couple of years, right? When did you start racing?
I started at figure eights in 1973.
1970. That's like 40-something years ago.
You don't have to remind me of that.
40. You were just a kid, though, because I remember when you came out, I was just a young guy myself and sitting in the grandstands with my grandfather, and I can remember when you came out with the figure eight car. Tell us about that experience.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, for a young guy, and I grew up with the Harbacks, and Freddie Harback helped me, coached me, and it was just a great time.
You know, it's funny, the old ISOP days. Now, back when you were racing figure eight cars, 60, 70 cars would show up to race figure eight cars, 4 heats, 20 cars in the heat that they took 5,
Right.
15, 30 cars that went in a concert. What was that like?
Oh, it was intense. I mean, you know how important it is. You got to make the race every night, and it was intense. You had to be on your game. My car was built more for the oval than the figure eight car, so I had a little bit of an advantage in the heat races. So we did pretty well, but it was mainly to get experience for down the road.
That was good. But Johnny Bush anyway goes, heat races, you got your experience. And that's one of the issues that's going on today at the local short tracks throughout the country. There aren't full fields, they're not running qualifying events. The show, the length of the show is a little bit shorter. And that's what happens. You got to get the seat time, And yeah, Johnny Bush, he did start out in Freeport, but that wasn't his home. His home was ISO Speedway, and I remember coming in. He was like 16 or 17 years old, and back in the day, and like 73, and 40. So that's 42 years ago. I mean, it's incredible when you look back, and here's a guy still trucking along and trying to make it happen, and I appreciate him stepping up and stepping in for Wade Cole when he had the eye surgery, and then bringing out the second car and helping along with that with Wade in that as well. So anyway, but it was all good. But some of the stuff that went on at Dover. Wow, time flies, man. Time flies. All right, let's go with the Camping World Truck Series race. Tyler Riddick was first, followed by Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones third, Daniel Hemrick, former modified tour driver, north and south, was fourth. Matt Crafton was fifth. Ben Kennedy was sixth. Ryan Blaney seventh from the pole, and Brandon Jones eighth. Johnny Sorda ninth, and Tyler Young rounding out the top 10. Yeah. Let's see, Xfinity. Chris Buescher was first, followed by Matt Kenseth, Reagan Smith third, Austin Dillon fourth, Casey Kane was fifth, followed by Chase Elliott, Brendan Gaughan, Ty Dillon, Eric Jones, and Jeremy Clements. Darrell Wallace Jr. had the pole. He ended up finishing 17th, and he wasn't a happy camper. He got kind of bumped around a little bit towards the end, and he wasn't happy. Darrell Wallace was very upset after being run over, as his spotter said, by teammate Chris Buescher for the win at Dover. And as Darrell put it, I don't want to say anything now. He's my teammate, but Monday is going to be interesting. So Monday, I guess they all get together and talk. And I'll tell you what, if my teammate pushed me out of the way for the win, I don't know if I could have been as calm as Darrell Wallace was in that post-race victory lane, but he's a professional. and he said the right things. And speaking of Xfinity, Austin Dillon's Xfinity racer failed post-race tech inspection Saturday as the infraction was too low on both sides of the rear. Dillon does not collect Xfinity points as a Sprint Cup Series driver, so it should be interesting what kind of penalty he's going to be given when the NASCAR meets on Tuesday to discuss it. Now, they can't fine him points. They can't take away driver points. They could take owner points away, but they can't take away driver points because he doesn't get any. They don't get any. So it'll be interesting how that goes. Definitely interesting. And Trevor Bayne and in the Truck Series and Jennifer Jo Cobb may take a little vacation at NASCAR's request as Bayne and Cobb both exited their race vehicles prior to the arrival of safety workers and the rule that forbids competitors from exiting their vehicles and walking on the track until safety workers get there. Now, Bayne waited, however, he dropped his window net, they got there, he got out, and he walked across the racetrack. That is a no-no. You're supposed to walk with the safety people right to the ambulance. Whereas Jennifer Jo Cobb did not wait for anything. She got out of her truck, walked there across the racetrack, waited for the cars to go by, and made some arm and hand gestures at who she thought, I guess, did her in. Cobb was involved in an accident with Tyler Riddick, and Cobb wanted to express her displeasure at what he did to her. Now, I watched the replay, and I watched it a couple of times. I don't know. I don't know if he really took her out. Did they brush? Yeah. Did they rub? Yeah. Did he take her out? I don't think so. But I wasn't in the driver's seat. I can only go by my experience of what I saw. And but the Bayne, he exited and walked away before Safer Walker Scott, could get him into the ambulance. So I'm sure Tuesday's competition meeting in the office is going to address these issues, and I'd be very surprised to see that if there isn't a suspension handed out, because as NASCAR's Executive Vice President Steve O'Donnell told NASCAR.com, how this is addressed weekly at a drivers' meeting. Both drivers were called to the NASCAR hauler, and we will make a decision, but this was a flagrant violation of a rule that they put in place after the untimely incident with Tony Stewart on the dirt track. And you can't go walking on a race. You can't go on the racetrack and do these things. And I never want to see people get suspended or have to sit out, because it's not good for the fans, it's not good for the owners, it's not good for the sponsors. But when you violate a rule such as that, it should be a vacation, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, whatever the case may be. I'm not one for fining teams, especially on this level, because these owners in the top 3 series, the Cup, the Infinity, and the Camping World Truck Series, they have deep pockets. So, all right, fine, yeah. How much is it? $50,000. There you go. It's just incredible, and it doesn't teach anybody any lessons. But if you have to sit out, that's the worst thing to have to do as a competitor, is to sit out. I know I had to do it, a couple times, and because my family went to the racetrack, what added to that punishment, other than to watch somebody else race, other people race when I wanted to be, was sitting in the stands with my kids and being driven crazy, and although I wouldn't trade those days for anything, but as a racer, you don't want to watch a race, you want to be in that race. Well, anyway, so it'd be interesting to see what happens tomorrow at the competition meeting, because some punishments are going to be handed out, without a doubt. Anyway, in the Cup Series, what do we got in the Cup Series? Jimmy Johnson was the winner. Kevin Harvick was second. Kyle Larson third, followed by Casey Kane fourth. Eric Almirola with a top 5. Martin Truex Jr. 6th. Jamie McMurray 7th. Paul Menard 8th. Clint Boyer was 9th, and Jeff Gordon rounded out the top 10. Denny Hamlin, who took the pole, ended up finishing 21st. So, the race, Dover, boring, very boring. And watching that event, and let's forget about that the grandstands were empty, but watching the event, it was just, they really didn't race until that last caution. that last caution came out, well, not the last one, with like 22 laps to go, all of a sudden everybody decided to go racing. And before that, it was just a parade. It was just, and this is what's happening. The cars are so evenly competitive, I guess, that there really aren't any real true back markers per se. Because when you do the speed charts and you look at them, the difference between the fastest guy and the slowest guy is not even a half a second in most instances. So what happens is they're just riding along. Everybody wants it, because you got to be in it at the end. So everybody's just riding along. That was a lesson that took me like 40 years to learn. But if you can't win on lap one, and you got to ride it out. And they're just riding it out. Ah, there's an opportunity. I'll go under. There's another. I'll pass this guy. And then you go down pit road, and it all changes. And you're just riding it out. You want to put yourself in position A to be on that lead lap at the end, and be in a position to go and get a top 10. Yeah, at that level you want to go for the win, but these guys are points chasing. They're chasing points. And with this new chase format, win gets you in automatically, but you want to have the points to get you in there as well. And I don't know, 22 figure. I can't believe you got suspended. 22 figure. When? I don't remember you ever getting suspended. I mean, I'm sure you did, but it wasn't anything that went on with you and I, because we always were able to settle it amicably, I thought. But it's and that was one of the, it was kind of funny. I can remember a driver being suspended from the races, and somebody else drove his car, and they had a problem, and they wanted to go in the pits and help, and they wouldn't. LASCO wouldn't let them at the local racetrack, so they went in the parking lot and worked it out. But I don't know. And we're going to take a quick break, and we come back. We're going to get prepared to wrap up. But think about that 22 figure. I don't remember you being suspended. What did you do? We'll talk about that more when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Enravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Enravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Merch Weller. We're some of the Proto Men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Enravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
back. Oh man, sometimes it's a good thing I don't see some of the chat stuff while I'm talking on there because I'd be cracking up. But anyway, hey, I just want to throw this out. The Orange County Fair Speedway and its general manager Ken Sands. He wanted to remind everybody it's this weekend there'll be a nostalgia night at Antique Racing, Dirt Mods, Midgets. Frankie Schneider will be there, Will Cagle, Billy Osmond, and Buzzy Ruderman. So that'll be good. It's a nice place. So if you're up that way, you might want to go stop up there. And again, my thanks to them for their hospitality and future hospitality. It's a good time. But yeah. Oh, you made the 22 figure eight got suspended because he upset the officials. I don't see how a guy as quiet as you could do that. Me, I'm surprised I wasn't suspended more often. It's funny. And as a race official, I've been on all sides of the fence as in racing and driving, owning, crew chiefing, crewing, even spotted for Ed Denseski at Martinsville in the modified tour. And as an official in different levels, and sometimes, it's tough to have somebody screaming in your face and not scream back, and it took a lot to learn not to do, and trying to understand that this competitor is just, and I try to put myself in back in there, I would say, how did I feel when, me and my guys or whoever helped me, work the week on my car, and then you get wrecked and something stupid, and you're gonna be upset. Or if you got you're running good and you get a bad call from an official, and officials make bad calls, they're human beings. I made my share of bad calls, and sometimes you own up to it. Say, yeah, I messed that one up. You look at a video, and I didn't have the luxury of video back in my day, and I had the luxury of, my people. And but I didn't have a meeting to discuss my call. I made the call. I stuck by it when the competitor was angry after the race or at the end of the night. I had to take the heat, and I couldn't say, no, he made that call. He made that call. I made the call. And if I screwed up, I apologize. And sometimes you have to, do that. But, the chat room, they're talking about an incident that happened. I was right there. I was in that corner, in turn 4 where the spotters used to stand. And it was running late. And this was the situation. It was running late at the local racetrack. And somebody went spinning through the infield and threw dirt all up on the racetrack, if I remember this correctly. And 22 figure eight, you correct me if I'm wrong. And the drivers wanted the track swept, and they said, no, it's running late, we're running late. And they came, the green flag flew, and they went around that corner, and there you go. And the cars went skidding in this dirt and sand and hit the gate, and the gate broke from its pin and became a battering. It just swept everybody that was on the ramp. And I can remember seeing people going up in the air quite far and then landing down and hearing the bones breaking and stuff. And I can remember going up there and aiding and assisting. And I can remember, not that it's funny, but a certain individual was laying on the ground and a guy, and he was all hurting. And he asked somebody for water. And the guy said, I can't get you water. And the ambulance guy said, you can't give him water, no. And all of a sudden he looked at the guy and he said, and I'll use this phrase, he goes, Peter, if you ask me for water, I get it. So Peter went and got him a bottle of water. And the emergency crew people were livid. But, here was an instance where, to save time, they didn't sweep the racetrack. And what happens is, when you have a non-racer as a head official back then, he should know better that, when you have race cars with slick tires, they're going to go through sand, they're going to go slip and slide, and that's what happened there. And there was dirt all over that turn, and it should have never been. They should have taken, the time to clean it, or sweep it, blow it, something. And I know hindsight's 20/20 vision, and you can look back and say shoulda, woulda, coulda. They didn't. And I'm sure we could look back at some of the things that I did as a head official, and the same thing, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I didn't. And that goes in life too. So anyway, I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up. We got wow, time. Time flies when you're doing this stuff, But looking forward to the racing that's going on. We're coming into the summer months, June, July, August. A lot of racing going on, and support your racetrack, wherever that may be. And it doesn't have to be the one in your backyard. It could be anywhere. Go to the racetrack. You know, a lot of people complain when things aren't good. And my lesson tonight is let them know when they do something good. Thank them for a good show. This way, when it is a bad one, it's not always the same guys and gals complaining. You know, because this is what happens. And anyway, oh, Gargos Paisano again. Oh, they don't even read the letter. Something good, you know, something good. And let them know what they do good. Because say when you do let them know when they're not so good, they're going to take you a little more serious. And I think every racetrack promoter should listen to the people who pay the bill. Because think about it, the people who pay to get into these racetracks, they're paying the bill. Whether you're paying it at the pit gate or you're paying it at the front gate, you're paying the purse, you're paying to have the lights on, you're paying, you know, and it was like, you got to do the thing. And like the other thing, like 22 Figure 8 is discussing that incident and how it showed up in the paper that Estrada stuck. And nobody asked them, you know, and nobody asked them, you know, what had happened. And that's the other thing. It's speculation, you know, and I could tell how they probably went down. So he goes, oh, what do you think happened? Oh, I bet you Estrada stuck. It's like, oh, Estrada stuck? And it just becomes that snowball, you know, because somebody overheard a little thing. And that little fish was this big, this big. And before you knew it, you know, he did it on purpose. I'm not saying that that's what happened because I know Bill and he would never do that. But this is what happens. You know, this is what happens when there's this situation. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up. So I want to thank everybody. And tonight, the chat room is wow. And the people, the viewership here tonight is awesome. And I appreciate that. I don't know. There was no advance warning what we were going to talk about. But you know, coming up in the future, Chucky Stoya and is going to be one of our guests. Artie Peterson, the third, he's going to be down here too with Checker One Sports as well. And we're going to have some good shows coming up. And we have some stuff in the can that we recorded. We're going to show some interviews and stuff. So we're all good. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to share this night with me, because this isn't my show; it's your show too. Whatever you do this week, whatever you do this weekend, whatever endeavors you have, please be safe. Tell somebody you love them. Give them a hug. We'll see you all next week. God bless you all.